Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second of the Glacier TV ETV Live specials, the benefit races for Morgan Schooley, this time presented on ETV Live, powered by the HD Radio Network. This time, we're at Watkins Glen, so a road race, 60 minutes around the beautiful racetrack that they call Watkins Glen International. 3.36 miles in length, 11 turns, and today we're racing in the almighty American powerhouse known as the 4GT. Hello again everyone, Will Vinson along with Sean P and Yoni Backman as we are currently working ourselves in the end of qualifying. We have a total of about 40 guys making the journey to upstate New York, and Yoni, this 4GT around this racetrack, it's very, very difficult to make sure you get your qualifying runs spot on perfect.
Yep, not only to get the spot on the qualifying time, but also get the spot on through the race, because the cars behave very differently behind someone and without someone in front, and the draft effect is really going to play a big factor in here. Also, especially in a race when there's an uphill long straightaway after turn 1, which will most likely see the majority of the race's overtakings.
Currently, the fastest in qualifying is William Levesque with a time of 1 minute 46.488. Right now, he is just under a tenth of a second faster than Ahmed Yamin. Danny Collin in the third position, Eagle Sandfield in the fourth spot, with David Scott rounding out the top 5. And it's pretty close. These guys, to run through the way it works, they will have 4 laps, 4 timed laps they can run in the space of 10 minutes. They have about a minute and a half left on the play clock for them to do their 4 laps. And if they go off track at any point, touch the walls, touch the grass, or anything like that, that lap will be invalidated by race control. So pretty much, they have to pull their car off track or bring it back to pit road, go out and do it all over again. And Yoni, that's a difficult part around here, because this car does like being power happy, and to keep it on the ragged edge but make sure that you still get that time lap in, it's so tough to do. But Levesque right now, he's getting it done.
Yeah, Levesque is getting it done not only in the 4GT but in the Corvettes in the open hot split race that we just finished. But yeah, especially the penultimate corner and the last corner are the tricky ones, especially because the penultimate corner is where you have to get maintain the good speed through the corner. But if you go inch wide, it really causes unsettles the car if it touches just an inch over the exit side curb. And when you come onto the last or the main straight out of the last corner, it's really like inches apart from you getting a perfect off-track free lap, and between ending yourself in a wall. We're really talking about inches coming out of the last corner.
So 10 seconds left in the session before the checkered flag comes out. In this, the ETV Live pre-show, we are going to have a chat with the one and only Morgan Schooley himself, as well as a couple of other guests. Checkered flag is now out, so the drivers who are on a lap, this is it. They've only got a couple more seconds to bring their cars round to the start-finish line. You have Eckhart de Glen working himself around the final corner, trying to go faster, and he's currently scored all the way down in the 44th position in lap Black Rebels cars. He comes past the stripe. Can he improve? The answer to that question is no, he can't. Neil Heckins from 13th, he cannot improve either. He stays where he is, and there's just a couple of more guards coming past the start-finish line. Ellis Stevens right now in the number 25 coming past the start-finish line, and he is going to look as well. He's staying in the 40th position as well, so no real change in the dying moments of qualifying. The one guy he's on the move, that is David Scott. He's got himself about 4 corners left to go. And Sean, when it's your last lap and you've got to really try and make up some ground, the pressure can really get to you.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. When you're trying to hit all those marks just right, try to get all the time off the clock and put together that perfect run, it can be really easy to make a mistake and just lose it all.
So, about 43 drivers, making the trip to upstate New York to qualify for this the second Morgan Schooley benefit race. David Scott is going to pass the start-finish line. He is the last person pretty much now to set his qualifying time, and he does a 1 minute 46.808. Let's have a look, see where that puts him in the grid, and that is going to be in the 6th position. He was exactly 1/10 of a second slower than his fastest lap of the day. Qualifying out of the way, now we're going to have a chat with Morgan Schooley. Morgan, welcome back to the ETV Live booth. The second race, of course, the big question that everyone wants to hear is, how are you doing?
I'm struggling a bit today, Will. It's good to see a good turnout for the race, but I just finished up some chemo that kind of really laid me out for a few days. So yeah, I practiced and practiced some more, and just thought I'd kind of watch this race. But good spirits. It's really neat to see this turnout. So I'm hanging out with my family, and as always, this is a lot of fun. So I appreciate all y'all's help.
Of course, the importance of the chemo, we've talked about that before. It's so important to get it working so that you can get that stem cell work done. And it's been a pretty busy time for you over the last couple of months since we last talked to you. Just explain, you know, the process that you've been going through to all of the people watching or listening, to explain, you know, how things are, how things have been going, and what hopefully the next steps will be.
10 rounds of chemo, just finished up with 30 days of radiation. This last round of chemo's set me up for stem cell transplants. I'll be hospitalized for a little while. We moved to Houston. You know, that's the quick little synopsis. We're close to the hospital. Got lots of support here. It's go time. So, you know, this transplant's a pretty big deal, and like I said, hopefully we're looking at about a month of hospital time, and it kind of reboots your immune system so that the cancer won't come back. So that's what we're looking at right now.
And this, of course, is the second benefit race that we've held for you. And how surprising is it to see the outpouring of emotion and support from not only the community in iRacing, but from, you know, people like Derek Spear with his donation, iRacing themselves, and everything going on there?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, you know, I look at these donation pages from people from all over the world, and it's pretty awe-inspiring to see the outpouring of support of people that I've raced with for years here at iRacing, and going back to earlier simulations that are just lending a hand, and down to, you know, you guys at Glacier and ETV working together and having a lot of fun calling these races, and the people just donating their time to set up these races, because it's not easy, and, you know, you got lots of private messages and setting them all up, and you know, it's a lot of work, and it does not go unappreciated. I really wish I was racing this, to be honest. I was about 3 or 4 seconds off of practice times, and didn't want to be a back marker all day.
Didn't want to be a back marker, indeed. Just very quickly, we have a message from both Tony Gardner and Sean Siff from iRacing. They've donated 3 $100 prizes for this race. Thoughts and prayers to you from both Tony Gardner and Sean Siff, and they're both hoping that you get as better as you can, as quickly as you can as well. So thanks very much to Sean and Tony, again, putting a lot of effort in, and as well to everyone else, to Derek Spear once again for donating prizes. And Randolph, we've had a number of other people jump in as well to offer some support and prizes as well.
Yeah, we had I think there's 5 or 6 sponsors we got. IGP manager, Hibbix Paint Shop, Derek Spear. I'm trying to ETV and Glacier as well, donating $100 to the winner. It's been a lot of companies in the sim racing community really did hop in and help out.
Well, Morgan, feel free to stick about very quickly. To those of you who are watching, if you'd like to donate, because of course we're doing this from the goodness of our hearts, but there is a reason why we're doing these races. We do need people, if they can, to, you know, jump onto morganschooley.com, all one word, morganschooley.com, hit that donate button. Doesn't matter if it's $1, $10, $100, anything that you can give can really make a huge difference. You can also read the full story about Morgan as well. And, you know, it's touching. Guy, wife and kid, you know, horrible to be in a situation like this. And from everyone at ETV and Glacier, we hope that you get as good as you can, as quickly as you can. And feel free to stick around for the race as well. Going to go racing in probably a little under 10 minutes time. That gives us a little bit of a chance to talk about this racetrack, Yoni. And upstate New York, Watkins Glen, it's one of the most known world tracks in all of North America. You can put it pretty much, the only track you can put it on the same footing as is Road America for prestige, but the drivers love it, the fans love it, and it's going to be a good race here today.
Yep, the only ones apparently that does not love it is me, but that's just my personal interest. It does provide hell of a racing for pretty much any car you can think of. Long straightaways, fast corners, slow corners, uphill, downhill, you name it. So the reason I dislike it is because I've had so many misfortune in there, and yep, yeah, that's probably the main reason. But yeah, very well-known track with the former Formula 1 races that they ran in there, so it's not stranger track to Europeans either. And yeah, and not only does it have the fame and reputation, but it does provide racing.
The start of the racetrack as well, Randolph, you come through a right-hander, then you come up the hill, and then your best passing opportunity really is on that long back straightaway, especially on the configuration that we're running. No chicane there, none of that bus stop chicane nonsense, straight down into the carousel. Fast corner, but a good chance to make a pass.
Yeah, if people want to get a lap or a pass done are going to be wanting to look into the carousel. You can, if you get a really good one, you can get it done just before the S's, but that can be really sketchy. But yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Should be a lot of passing, should be a lot of side-by-side action. A lot of really good drivers in this race.
Let's give you a bit more of an in-depth look at this racetrack then. This is the Watkins Glen track guide. We're going to step aside for a moment, we'll be right back. Watkins Glen International, set in upstate New York, is a track that measures 3.4 miles in its latest carnation. Now, this is a track which over the years has hosted Formula 1 races, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series races, IndyCar races, Trans Am, Can-Am, Grand Am races, and also the famous 6 Hours of the Glen. Now, the latter event really cemented the track's legacy as the home of road racing in North America, drawing tremendous crowds and bringing some of the greatest drivers in North America to do battle in a long, hard and endurous event. Now, this track might look simple on paper, but with so many elevation changes and sparse, high-speed corners, you really got to pay attention. As we take a look at the track, the start and finish straight, you can't actually see turn number 1 until you're right actually on it. A 90-degree right-hander, famously called the 90. You want to use that curb on the inside, but be careful on that curb on the outside. Nice run-off area there, but don't straddle the car on the outside of the curb, otherwise you'll put yourself into big problems. Coming up the S's, turns 2 through 4. Got to hold your line nicely here. You'll see there's not a lot of runoff area here, especially on the final part of this. The Armco barrier is right there on the side of the track. Put a foot wrong, your race will be over. You'll now work yourself onto the back straightaway. This is where they added the inner loop in the early 1990s due to a number of incidents on this fast speed track before you come to what is now being named the outer loop. This is a fast right hand corner. You want to hold it to the inside for the first portion and then pick. So welcome back to the ETV Live pre-race show for the second Morgan Schooley benefit race, the 1 hour of the Glen here on ETV Live. Will Vincent still with Yoni Backman and Sean P as we get ready to go racing. A little under 3 minutes left in this practice session. And Sean, we've got a good field here. Neil Heckin setting the fastest time in the practice session that we're on right now. The time of 1 minute 48.003. But he was a little bit slow in qualifying. He's one of these drivers that I think we're going to have to keep a good eye on to see them work their way up the field as this race progresses.
Oh yeah, well, no doubt. You know, you're going to look at a guy like him, a little bit slower in the qualifying session, but good on race pace. A lot of these guys trying to focus on the race pace. An hour is a long time to drive around Watkins Glen. And it's not necessarily where you start, as I always say, but where you finish. So we'll be looking for him to move up through the field and get that car set up and working as he works his way up.
And to say, just about 2 minutes left to go. And one of the things as well here, Yoni, all of these drivers will have to make a pit stop. None of this fuel saving malarkey. Everyone will have to make a pit stop at some point during this race.
Yeah, but we have to remember that the fixed setup currently that the drivers use, the forced setup that the drivers have to use for this race, provides a significantly longer sixth gear than normally, which basically means that if you are right behind someone and you do save the fuel during a big portion of the race, you need one splash of less fuel on the pits, and that can make a difference when making that pit stop.
And that's one of the things in this car as well, you know. Even though everyone does have to make a pit stop, the amount of time that you spend in your pit box is going to be important. On a fast, short, arguably track like this, when traffic will come into play, again, when you pit is going to be important. If you're around a lot of traffic, you might decide you want to come onto pit road 2-3 laps earlier, because that time that you spend, Sean, working yourself through traffic could cost you 4, 5, 6 seconds on the racetrack. That could be the difference between standing on the podium and being at the bottom end of the top 10.
Oh yeah, exactly. Any time that you've ever seen, especially with the road racing, when you get really hung back into traffic, you can't work your way around it, you're just using the car up, and at that point the best tactic is to come in maybe a couple of laps earlier, get that fuel, get those tires, and then get some open racetrack and try to overtake when those cars then that were holding you up then come into the pits. And I think that's what we'll see with a lot of these guys today, because we do have a pretty full field of cars, so we'll see a lot of varying pit strategies. And you know, that's exactly what we're going to see, is guys coming in early, getting that tires, getting their gas, and getting out in that open track.
Kind of quickly, this is one of the things that we will see throughout the race. The 73 car of Dirk Turling's there, trying to look down to the inside as he works himself down into the carousel, as the checkered flag is now in hand to signify the end of this practice session. Probably the best overtaking opportunity on the racetrack. We are going to start running through your starting order for this race any moment now, and it is going to be William Levesque starting this race. Pole position, a time of 1 minute 46.488. Ahmed Yamin will be starting alongside him in row number 1. Danny Conlon and Rudy DeWitt in row number 2. Eagle Sandfield and David Scott in row number 3. Yoni, those top 3 rows very closely matched in qualifying, especially those top 3 drivers separated by just over 1/10 of a second.
Which would indicate that we're gonna see a lot of pack racing in the top, at the top of the field, because I would think that none of the drivers, unless somebody makes a huge mistake somewhere, I don't think anyone is gonna be able to escape the leading pack, especially if it is close, because the leading car is always gonna have the disadvantage at the end of the straights.
And then, as we look down the order, row number 4, you're gonna have Kevin DeWitt and Rasmus Lawson. Row 5, Steve Hobbs and Nick Thiessen. Row number 6, Kevin Beekman and Anders Dahl. Row 7, Neil Heckins and Con Gertzes. And all of these guys, still Sean, they are separated by still half a second on the racetrack. You have to look down to 16th position and Alan Olsen before you get drivers starting to be in the 1 minute 47s.
Yeah, well, and that really speaks to the strength of the field here. All these guys packed so closely together on qualifying time, and you're right, we're going to see a lot of cars really being close together, and that could provide, will obviously provide a lot of overtaking and maybe some interesting moments too, because as we noted with the track, a lot of elevation changes, a lot of slippery curves for these cars to navigate through. So I really look forward to seeing it, and it's just great to see an event like this with such top-end drivers and such a close field.
And when's the last time you've seen 42 GTs in one field?
Oh, that's... Yeah, exactly. That's another thing I was saying, looking at the grid, I was like, 42 cars, this is going to be all kinds of fun, so I can't wait for it to get going green.
If you think the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is fun when they go to this racetrack, you haven't seen anything yet. This Ford GT is all about pure power. It's not the best handling car in the world, it's got some great speed, and these drivers will really have to hold it on the ragged edge if they're going to find themselves in victory lane here today. Right now, Yonu, they're working themselves up that backstretch. You see, just to the right-hand side, that is where the chicane is. And this is that best passing opportunity. We have seen cars previously try and go around the outside into the carousel, because very often people try and hold that inside line. If you can stay side by side through this corner, you actually have the inside line into the next corner, so you can try and complete that pass.
Yeah, and I would think we're going to see an equal amount of overtaking attempts through both inside and the outside line, because like you said, you can basically, the overtaking car can force its way around the outside, which is a longer way around, but then you have the guaranteed inside line into this left-hander right here, or if you take the inside line into the carousel, then you're safe through there. But if you're unable to clear the car on your left, then you're going to lose the position afterwards. So a lot of drivers are afraid of the outside line, especially if you're talking about very last laps, etc., and you're really pushing it to the edge. If the guy on the inside makes just a tad of braking error, it can cause the inside car to push way wide, and that's when the disasters start happening.
And Randolph, coming down into a difficult section of the racetrack, hill corner, right-hander, then that left-hander, very tricky. You've got to be careful when you put the power down there. Expect to get some cars spinning at some point during this race, down in the next corner.
Yeah, this is the slowest and slipperiest part of the racetrack, and getting on the power, like you said, is real easy to spin. There's a couple curves that if you hit them wrong, it'll turn the car around, and you're going to have to be careful with 42 cars on this track, 43 cars on this track. You got to be looking behind you, looking ahead of you, and should be, this will probably be the most interesting part of the racetrack, I think, save for the carousel.
Pace car working itself down into turn number 10. The left-hander before it'll come down into turn 11. That final right-hand corner. Be careful about there as well. That curb on the outside, on the exit of the corner, it's so inviting. Put that car just a wheel to the left, you'll end up in the Armco barrier. Your race will be over. Pace car making that journey down towards pit road. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second Morgan Schooley benefit race. Green flag in the air. We're racing for 1 hour at the Glen, and it's a good start there by Levesque as they come down into turn 1. They're all trying to get single file, but Danny Conlon there down to the inside and will complete the pass, moving himself up to third ahead of Rudy DeWitt.
Yeah, we certainly see.
These guys did a really, really good job getting through turn 1. I don't think there was any
Oh, there's a
contact
quick
at all.
crash in turn 2. One car off in turn 2. Almost takes out 5 other cars, but miraculously only one car off.
We'll get you details of who that is in a moment, because they're running too wide in the middle of the pack as they come out of the climbing S's. Now they work themselves down this long back straightaway, and this is all the way down at about the 25th position. They're going to go 3 wide down into the carousel. Mac Brabham down the middle will complete the pass, passing 2 cars there. One of the best overtakings we've seen so far in this race, and he's also now got Remco Muddet there going side by side with Andre and Shepard as they come down into turn number 6 on the racetrack. But out front, they're single file for the time being. Still 2 wide racing going on behind them. Right now, it's Levesque from Yamin, from Conlon, from Rudy DeWitt, from Egil Sandfield. They are your top 5. David Scott in the 6th position, meanwhile, has got Rasmus Lawson in 7th, looking down to his inside as they come down into Hill Corner. Not quite close enough, Randall.
Yep, probably just being patient right now, with it being really, really early and with this many cars on the track. Just probably looking, seeing if there's anything easy, and if there's not wanting to push it too hard, because a little mistake will end a lot of people's race.
We've had a couple of cars out at the start of this race. We'll give you an update of who they are as they come past the stripe for the first time. But Levesque is going to lead lap number 1. We'll get confirmation on what the gap is as they come past the start-finish line. And it's going to be exactly 1 second, pretty much, over Yamin. And that is going to be important, Sean, because as they work themselves up the back straight, if Yamin can't get close once again, that is going to mean that Levesque would have been able to get out of draft range. Yamin will start struggling to catch up to the rear of Levesque.
Oh, exactly. We see these guys now starting to really go single file. They've got their setup dialed in, just waiting for the car to come to them. And yeah, he really needs to get up onto the back of Levesque, because if he loses that drafting opportunity, he's going to come under attack from the cars from behind, allowing Levesque to get even further ahead.
Conlon running in the 3rd position is about half a second behind Yamin right now as they work themselves again down into turn number 6. DeWitt about the same gap, but he's got Egil Sandfield all over the rear of him. Yoni Sandfield is one of these drivers who you cannot discount, especially on a race where you're going to have pit stops. He's currently sat 5th right now. He could be knocking the door of the podium within the next 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, and we have to remember that the tire management also comes into play, especially when at the early stages of the race, when the cars are closely behind, you're gonna easily get a good run on people. You tend to overdrive the corners and brake super late, which works the first few corners or first few laps, but then when the tires really build up heat, all of a sudden you find yourself in trouble. So Egil is one of those veterans in this series with the Corvettes and the GTs especially, that he should know his way around how to preserve the tires. So yeah, Egil might be after like 15 more minutes. Egil might be in a completely different position.
Looking down to the bottom of the top 10, you currently have Nick Thiessen running in the 9th position, Anders Dahl in 10th, Steve Hobbs in 11th. Now Thiessen and Dahl are two other veterans in the series. Right now Thiessen trying to close up to the rear of Kevin Duval in the battle for the 8th position on the racetrack. And there is a train of cars right now which starts at David Scott. He's losing time to Stanfield ahead of him. Right now that gap between Stanfield and Scott is about a second on the racetrack, but Lawson just 2 tenths back, Duell further 2 tenths back, and then you have Nick Thiessen who's right on the rear, and this is that perfect opportunity. As you see cars defending all over the place right now, as Egil Sandfield's going to get himself into a good drafting opportunity. Rudy DeWitt not quite close enough that time, Randolph. But the important thing is you've got a 5-car breakaway and then about a 7-8 car train developing in the top 15 positions.
Yeah, and these top 5 are going to be loving that breakaway they're getting. As we said earlier, they're going to be breaking that draft, and the cars behind won't be able to catch up quite as easily.
And Sean, right now you've got to be careful in this stage of the racetrack. The tyre temperatures are starting to build up. You kind of lose that initial sheen, that initial grip that you have on these tyres. Now you just got to settle down into the role of just driving a GT car, making sure that you don't put any foots wrong, but making sure at the same time that you keep that pressure up on the guys ahead of you. And I think that's one of the things that a number of these drivers are going to start employing, just hoping that they can force a driver into a mistake, as Lawson all over the back of David Scott right now in the battle for 6th.
Yeah, these cars are really starting to come up to temperature, and the setups are starting to work in, so their cars are going to have to be very careful not to get on the power too hard or get through some of those elevation changes too hard and cause them to lose control there.
Meanwhile, checking it on the 20th position, and you have just there Dirk Tullins been able to get himself back past Jared Williamson, and they have changed positions about twice in this one lap alone. Williamson looking as though he's struggling in the second part of this racetrack, and in fact he's been passed by Mario Burdi, who's moved him up into the 19th position on the racetrack, Randolph.
Yeah, Mario is a pretty strong driver, and so is Alan. So I mean, they're gonna be should be putting on a really good show right now.
Levesque still leads, a gap now up to 1.1 seconds on the racetrack. Yamin is being able to pull out about a 6/10 of a second gap even over Danny Connellan, as that battle for 19th and 20th conditions continues, and the 52 car there of Joe Williamson there trying to go down the inside, and Mario Brody in that battle for 19th position wasn't able to do so, and they've started to fall away from that middle pack as well, which has got Alan Olsen in it, Jay Beardsley and Christian Tassenhoe in it as well. Don't forget, head over to morganschooley.com. Of course, we're doing this racing for the fun of it, but also to raise valuable funds to help out Morgan Schooley in his continuing battle with cancer. So head over to morganschooley.com, give whatever you can. Even the equivalent of a price of coffee could really make a big difference. I want to keep an eye out on that battle right now, Yoni, with Nick Thiessen and Anders Dahl sat in the 9th and 10th position. Dahl is caught up to the rear of Thiessen. That train continues from David Scott back, and Dahl and Thiessen, I think they want to try and get themselves through a couple of these cars, because they're going to need to start going soon if they're going to be able to get strategy to work from them and get themselves into the top 5.
Yeah, but most likely they will have to consider making the pass somewhere else than at the end of the long straight, because currently, as the top 17 cars are still within drafting distance from each other, the problem is that if Nick Thiessen wants to get past the car in front of him, he has to deal with the car getting a draft already, so he's very close right now. But as you can see, even though he's super close, now when the draft should start biting for Thiessen, it already does the same for Kevin Duell, so this is going to be like I would say the easiest part to make a pass this at the moment would be in the heel or the toe corners of the booth.
Thiessen trying it though, Thiessen trying it down to the inside there, and he's going to try and make it stick. He's all over the curve. As I said earlier, the next turn is a left-hander. This could give Kevin Duell the chance to come back. Thiessen on the outside into this corner. The next corner, if they can stay side by side, will be a right-hander. But it looks like Thiessen's got off, and that's going to cost him 2 positions there. As here comes Andy Style past Thiessen, and it looks like he was going to have a look down the inside of Duell there. And that's one of those things, Randolph. In a big pack like this, you go offline, you can get freight trained.
Dahl is going for it in my favorite corner, the heel corner. He has the nose on the inside, and surely he's going to outbreak him. Here we go.
Easy,
oh,
easy.
Real deep. Not going to push it wide, dude. But he has the inside into the left-hander. Surely a position taken there.
It looks as though he might just be able to get that. Of course, it's so slippery when you come into the power here. The 88 gets a better run off the corner, however. That
was impressive.
And Anders Dahl goes back into line.
Yeah, that was
impressive on the outside.
Maneuver.
And Randolph, that was one of the things that I was saying as well. In packs like this, when you've got 7-8 cars running very close proximity to each other, you go offline, you try and make a pass, you've got to get it done, because otherwise you can actually lose positions because you're on the wrong side of the racetrack and all of these other cars can just breeze past you.
Yeah, a lot of these these road course guys, excuse me, they may not be used to running in big packs. Whereas once you get spread out in most races, you can go off, you really don't lose much other than time, whereas in a race like this, as many cars as they are, and the draft's playing as big of an effect as it is, everyone's staying tightly packed. A slight mistake, you lose 3-4 spots in a blink of an eye.
To give you an update on cars who are struggling early on in this race, Will Boynton is already scored 3 laps down. Eckhart von Glan has brought his car onto pit road. It looks like there is some rear wing damage, rear spoiler damage even to that car, and also a little bit of crumpled bodywork on the left front of that car. Scored 1 lap down right now, so we still have a total of 39 cars scored on the lead lap as we're now working ourselves onto lap number 6 in this 1 hour race. And look at the lead right there, Sean, that William Levesque has been able to pull out on the last 3 laps. It's now up to 2.2 seconds. He's doubled that in the last 3 laps alone.
Exactly. It's exactly what we were talking about earlier. He's been able to pull away with that draft and get away from the second place car. And the second place car now is starting to feel the pressure from the rest of the top 5 and is going to have to move into more of a defensive, and that's just allowing Levesque lap by lap to really increase that lead as he's out in the open air with no cars around him. But guys, this whole entire race looks like a jammed interstate. I mean, there's so many GTs around here.
And also, the 82 machine has been able to move himself up into the 22nd position as Dahl back on the move there, and he should get it down into turn 1. This is going to be close, but he should get that run. You can run the outside line and get a better advantage, but Dahl is past, and looks as though someone else is going to go past there as well. That was Nick Thiessen, so 2 positions there, lost to Kevin Duell in the space of 1 corner. It could well be free, because here comes yet another car. This is Kevin Beekman to get out the gas. That's going to cost him dearly, as 2 cars are going to go around the outside of him as they onto the fastest part of the racetrack. We're just going to very quickly talk about the Vesque's lap time, because early on in this race he did, in lap 2, a 146.3, 146.3, 146.3, 4 laps in a row. He fell off by 3 tenths that last lap, but great consistency by him. But that battle at the mid-pack there, from 7th through to 12, continues, and Dahl had to make that move, I think, there, Yoni.
Yeah, and that whole strain of, or a train of passing, or streak of passings was all because Kevin Duell came out of the final corner with a slight slide, managed to correct it, but gave Anders Dahl the round he needed, and Nick Thiessen was able to capitalize. But yeah, this battle is right now is Kevin Duell being in the front of these 3 or 4 or 5 cars really consumed time from these 2, and I think Anders was forced to make that as Nick Thiessen almost rear ends Anders Dahl there, goes wide into the in the heel corner. And now coming into the exit of the boots, the uphill left-hander Anders Dahl was wide.
Oh, he's going to
now Thiessen is there to capitalize on it. And Kevin goes wide. And there's the only Hagner right now coming inside of Kevin, but do not push your car too wide there. That's not gonna work.
Dangerous place to make that pass. As we're now working ourselves onto lap number 8, we'll come back to this battle as Nick Thiessen actually is going to go on the outside. Anders Dahl is onto pit road. We will come back in just a moment, and we'll bring you all the updates from Anders Dahl as he makes that early trip on pit road after this short message.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
So welcome back to the 1 hour of the Glen, the Morgan Schooley benefit race here on ETV Live, a collaborative project between ETV and Glacier TV. The vets clipped the wall just a moment ago there, Randolph, in the S's, and we're going to have an eye out to see whether or not he sustained any damage from that. That's one of the big stories. The other big story is that Anderstar made that early pit stop, and he is in a ton of traffic right now, as he is scored all the way down in the 36th position on the racetrack, and he's got about 8 cars to get to before he gets anywhere near some clean air.
Yeah, talking on Levike, I mean, the left-hander in the S's in these cars, the car really does get understeery, and it really is easy to get it into the outside wall on the right-hand side. So I think that's just what happened to him. And yeah, Anders, I think he pit early trying to get out of the traffic, and it really hasn't helped him, actually. It's done the opposite.
So we still have a total of 39 cars scored on the lead lap. Gonna turn our attention down to that battle once again that's been going on between Egil Sandfield, Rudy DeWitt, etc. And
we got a big crash in the boot. We got a big crash in the boot back by Anders Dahl.
Wow. Yeah. Friend, so the 69 machine is one involved in that. We'll get ourselves a replay of that. That is Ian Bevan there. And we're going to... actually, he looks like he just got rear-ended down into the toe corner. No, he's lost that car all by himself, actually, on corner exit. So easy to do. He actually got then rear-ended by Nikos in the number 31 machine. And then Anderstar, I'm having a look to see whether he got any damage. He was just able to get past that 2-car crash, but that could have been a lot more costly, Yoni. And it is so easy to lose a car at that part of the racetrack.
Yeah, that corner is devastating. When you get your car in the small slide and you have someone following you that closely, there's really nowhere to go for the car behind. He cannot rotate the car any further to the right-hand side that he already is committed to, and the only option would be to go on the around the outside, and that's not going to work with a GT car. You're going to end up pushing over the grass and into the fence. So the car behind really had nowhere else to go, but. That could have been. That had a potential for being a 5-6 car disaster. There's another spin. There's another spin at the same corner. It looks like number 14 car of Kevin Wiekmans is around at least, and there's another car as well. Yeah.
So Nick Thiessen, one of the contenders in my eyes to get a top 5 in this race, is now pretty much going to be game over for him. And that was with Kevin Wiekman trying to go on the outside line there, and he just lost that car again all by himself. Thiessen had nowhere to go. He spun his car, hit the tyre barrier. He's got some damage to his rear and also his right-hand side. He's going to try and bring that car down towards pit road to see whether he can get any repairs to that. But 2 drivers who we thought there, Sean, who was going to be certain for a top 10 finish, Kevin Wiekman in the 14 car, Nick Thiessen in the number 6 machine, their races look as though they're not going to be as productive as it thought they could be.
Yeah, that's that one portion of the track where you really got to be careful. You can really lose the car easy, as we've just seen 2 times now. And especially to these contenders, I mean, just working in this traffic with so many cars can be so difficult, as we see Thiessen actually staying out on the track with the damage to the rear and the right-hand side. So, yeah, but that's costly, especially for guys like that.
Meanwhile, battle for P5 and 6 on the racetrack, and David Scott's been able to battle here with Rasmus Lawson. Lawson's going to go back down to the inside, but he breaks a little bit early. He gets a good run for the centre of the corner, almost loses it there. And that really is the most slippery corner on the racetrack, Randolph. You can't brake late because of transition from one form of asphalt to concrete to the other, and then you just have to hope that you can hold it in the centre of the corner there, because the track just falls away from you.
Yeah, if you kick the car sideways in that corner, it really is a lot of just hoping you can hold it rather than if you're able to. And we're getting word that the 73 is fun as well.
And that is dirt.
In the corner we're talking about, actually.
It is exactly the same corner as we were talking about. He was batting down in the 19th position, just slid that car sideways, and what he did there, he got into a slide, he tried to counter it, then that car just snapped into him, swerved across the racetrack, and actually, he just tugged Jupp Williamson there in the number 52 car, who's moved up a position, and then Williamson got sideways himself, and there's another car that
he got
T-boned him.
too. Yeah, that's just bad luck. We're seeing a lot of, these guys are staying pretty tightly packed, and a lot of people are making just little mistakes, and we're seeing it affecting a lot of other people because of how close the racing is right now.
There's actually carnage down at that part of the racetrack. Daniel Reyes was involved, Robert DeRouge was involved in it as well. In fact, you had about 5 cars involved in that incident. Mac Brackham, Andre Shapers, Robert DeRouge, Danny Raitt, Joe Paulsonson were all involved in that incident, and that is one of the characteristics of this racetrack, Sean. It is incredibly narrow. If someone goes off, there is a chance they will collect at least one other car. In a case like this, 4 more.
Oh yeah, the course itself has a lot of barriers really close to the track, as we pointed out on the track guide before the race started. And the racetrack itself is really narrow with a lot of slippery transitions filling up half a lane, so sometimes it's not even as wide as maybe half a lane to try and make a move. So it's very difficult for cars to get around, and if somebody does make a mistake as these tires start to fall off, then we are going to have accidents and oftentimes more than one car collected.
Mike Taylor right now scored in the 20th position, just being passed there by a recovering Nick Thiessen. He's got some pretty substantial damage to his race car, Yoni, but he's still carrying on. I'm having a look at the front of his car. I'm going to see if I can get a good angle of it as he comes out. And again, he's sideways there, runs off the racetrack, and this is going to allow him to come under attack from Mike Taylor. But that car is not handling well at all, and that damage really is hurting the way that car's steering.
Yeah, he has quite rear wing damage, plus he has a front right corner damage, so the front right is not that big a deal as long as your axis is safe and secure and intact, but the rear wing really is a big factor, especially in these the boot corner area, the tight uphill, downhill, tight corners. The rear wing, when it's bent, it's really upsetting the car, and when you start turning in, all of a sudden it just snaps when you go on the throttle, so that makes a big difference. It's not that big a difference in the fast corners. It looks like Thiessen is pulling into the pits, by the way.
Yeah,
he could also be losing speed down the straight.
Go on, Randolph.
I said he could also be losing speed down the straight, which with the long back straightaway and the draft we were talking about is really going to hurt him. But he pulls in, probably get the damage repaired, or maybe just repeat stop.
Well, he is in that window just about to make it to the end now, and I think that's what he tried to do, try and get that car to a point where he could get the damage repaired whilst that car is being refueled, to the point that he could go out and make the best of his race as he can. Of course, he'll be so far down, he probably will be in a little bit of clean air by now. Meanwhile, we're going to turn our attention back to the battle through 2nd through 4th on the racetrack, and this has got Ahmed Yamin, Danny Conlon and Egil Sandfield. They are running within 1 second of each other on the racetrack right now, and this is what Randolph was saying earlier. Whilst this is going on, Sean, Levesque is just being able to pull away because Yamin is having to drive with his rear mirrors to keep Conlon right behind him.
Yeah, it's exactly what we were talking about earlier. He's now fallen so far behind Levesque that he now is coming under attack from the rest of the top 5, and he's just having to use those mirrors, and as the car set starts to fall off, as the tires start to degrade, then we can see that is really becoming much more of a chore for him. And it looks like Levesque, the clipping of the wall that he did earlier, has not impacted his lap time, obviously, as his gap is still massive to that second place car, who's really struggling at the moment.
But I have to say that I have monitored this for the last 6 to 10 laps, and that it looks to me like when they come to the end of the straightaway, like what should these guys are doing? I mean, you have Amit Yamin at the front. He starts to defend, but for the last 6 laps, it looks like the Conlon and Sandfeld has basically been, like you see, Sandfeld just lifts way earlier than he should be if he would really go for a position. So my guess it would be that Sandfeld is currently saving fuel and just letting these guys hot lap for him. And like I said, that one splash less fuel, well, once you make that pit stop, that can make a several second difference during one pit stop.
And also,
I would bet my money on Sandfeld saving fuel.
And while they're running too wide like clear, Silvestri's being able to pull away even more. They've been too wide now for about... Yamin almost getting into Sandfeld as he clips the curb there on the inside of toe corner. This is going to allow Sandfeld to get a run on the outside. He won't be clear. Yes, he will be clear. Going down into heel corner. And also Rudy DeWitt there trying to go onto the offensive as well. But what this has done, it is allowed Conlon to break away immediately. He's got himself about a second gap over Ahmed Yamin, and Sandfeld is past now as well, as touching the wall does there, Ahmed Yamin. So he's lost 2 positions already, and now I think he just grazed the Armco barrier, Randolph, and now Rudy DeWitt, he smells a little bit of blood.
Yeah, Yamin was really lucky. He drove all over that curb coming out of the boot, and that is one of the curbs that will easily spin you. So for him to just barely brush the wall like that, he really did get lucky. As well as the spin in the toe of the boot, or the near spin in the toe of the boot as well. He's lucky he didn't wreck 4 race cars all in, blink of an eye.
And Yoni, there's a nice battle going on for P14 on the racetrack there. 4-wheel slide, somehow managed to keep it going.
Yeah, Christian Tanahado came into the heel corner, being chased closely by Alan Olsen, and Christian just locked all the 4 tires and went through a 4-wheel slide through that corner, but somehow he had low enough speed to survive that corner with a 4-wheel slide, but you don't see that every day.
So to run through your top 10, it's still William Levesque leading away. The gap is now 4 seconds on the racetrack between himself and Danny Conlon. Egil Sandfeld up into 3rd, Ahmed Yamin down into the 4th position, Rudy DeWitt in 5th, Rasmus Larsen in the 6th position, David Scott 7th, Yoni Hagner, he's moved himself into the top 10, he's now in 8th, Cohen Gerthardt in 9th, and then Neil Heckins round out your top 10. Retirees from this race, we started to get a couple of them. Will Boynton out of the race, Ellis Stevens, Denny Rates, Robert DeRouge, Mac Backham, Ekenbot Glenn, Joseph Wilmson, Arjun Shapers, Mario Boldi are all scored laps down or are out of the race. Nick Thiessen also scored 1 lap down, but let's not forget he made a very early pit stop and he is now out of the race.
We got a spin in the boot right now.
P5.
Yeah, Rasmus Larsen crashes into David Scott there. These guys were going too wide for almost 2 straight laps in almost every corner, so one of the guys was passing each other, and now it just finally pays the price for it, and just slightest mistake from Rasmus Larsen, and he's already in the radio going apologizing, and he was almost looked like he was going to wait for him coming out of that spin, but he in the process he lost several positions there.
Indeed, Scott had to wait for the traffic to go past him. Wouldn't be surprised if he has a tiny bit of damage as well to that bodywork. But that is the thing, once again, if you can get side by side, the way this track works is, especially for the first 2/3 of a lap, that you have left-handers then right-handers, so the advantage kind of negates itself turn on turn, Sean. So you can do that 2-wide racing, but you have to be very careful to make sure you don't end up tagging your competitor.
Exactly, and that first portion of the track where the Armco really comes out at those high-speed S's as you head into that straightaway, you must be careful because it does not take much to actually clip that barrier and hit the wall. And then you get into the boot area and you're still trying to carry it 2x2, and then that's when we start talking about the transitions that can also catch a car out and send him into the wall as well. So you can go 2x2 pretty easy, but you got to be careful as the track is very narrow for that kind of racing.
And guys, look at the power of the draft. Egil Sandfeld now in P3, the 86 car, 146.195. Compare that to the top 2 running 146.54. 0.4 of a second faster Egil Sandfeld as soon as they got past Amir Yamin. So it ain't over yet.
Indeed, it's not. And I think that Sandfeld is knocking on the door of being the dark horse in this race. We talked about how he's one of the veteran drivers in the GT series. That number 86 car right now sat in that 3rd position doing a sterling job. We're about to approach halfway distance in this race. Very quickly, going to bring Morgan Schooley back in. Of course, the last time we did this benefit race, we were on an oval. Very different situation here on the road course, but still very good close quarter racing. And I just don't think we have got Morgan at the moment. We'll try and get back to him shortly. But in the meanwhile, we'll keep an eye out on that number 86 car of Egil Sandfield. He comes past the stripe once again. Let's see what his lap times are at the moment. And he did a 146.2 that last time by. Compare that to a 1 minute 46.473 of Danny Conlon last time. And Sean, it does look as though that Sandfield is on a charge. If he can get himself past Conlon in the next couple of laps, now he's saved that fuel, and he could perhaps go a lap longer than the Vesk ahead of him, we could have a great fight on our hands in the second half of this race.
Oh, exactly, and it's really a testament to what Yanni was saying earlier. You know, he was able to really let off early and save the car. He did kind of get involved in those incidents that were happening in the top 5 there when those cars slid, but then it's got to the point now where he's using the car a little bit. He's setting consistently faster laps. If he can pull himself within I'd say probably 3-4 seconds to the leader before he makes his pit stop, we really could be talking about a fantastic finish. I mean, we're talking not even tenths of seconds here between these guys because they're both doing such a great job.
Oh, big trouble there actually in turn number
9.
And that was Eckhart Verglon and someone else there as well, Yoni.
The leader is off. Levesky spins dodging him, and I was just about to say that in the heel corner, Levesky already had a long slide. He managed to keep it together, and I was just about to say that he was pushing like a maniac, but now the maniac style of driving just cost because he was going into the boot, exited the boot, just an inch clipping on the inside curb, and that's enough to send your car sideways. He did everything humanly possible to keep that off the walls, but that cost him dearly.
Indeed, and what that's done is it's dropped him down to the 4th position on the racetrack, and that was just a single car spin down at that corner we have talked about so often here. Turn number 9 on the racetrack. You come up the hill, and it's so difficult when you try and get back on the power.
Sandfield is going in the outside line. Now we can see the really if Sandfield has what it takes.
He's going to get it. He's not, but he's still got that
together. Yeah,
line
he's going to keep
the next
it.
corner. If he can try and keep it on the inside, now he'll have the chance down into this slippery corner. They're going to be side by side. Who will get the better run off the corner? It looks like Sandfield's going to do it. Move him to the race lead. Your new race leader. Now 3 lead changes in this race. Sandfield is your new race leader from Danny Conlon, but Conlon will not give it up just yet. Working lap 18, just halfway through this, the Watkins Glen 1 hour Morgan Schooley benefit race, and we will be right back.
And welcome back to the Morgan Schooley 1 hour at Watkins Glen here on ETV Live. Sean joining you with the folks, Will Vincent from Glacier TV. And actually, we should probably take a chance here, Will, to give a shout out to Glacier TV for all of your sim racing, road racing specials. You guys do the also do the World Series.
Well, thank you.
Oh yeah,
Very
no
quickly,
problem.
We've got third place. I'll let you come back in a minute. Third place just come down onto pit road. We'll come back to that in a moment. You can carry on.
Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. So, yeah, Glacier TV is offering you many of the same high-quality components and commitment to their product as ETV Live. Glacier TV is your first best choice for broadcasting road racing events, specializing in multi-class events with qualified commentators and reasonably priced. ETV Live is proud to endorse Glacier TV as the premier broadcast group for all of your road racing needs. So you can see them at glaciertv.com or contact them at sales@glaciertv.com, Will. So you guys do fantastic over there, and I always enjoy watching you guys on the road racing, and it's an honor actually to be in here with you guys today.
Likewise, first time here on ETV Live. Very quickly, Ahmed Yamin has been able to come onto pit road. He was third, now he's dropped down into the 14th position. The only thing that might hurt him is the fact he's come out just 0.8 of a second behind Remco Modet. And this is a time when the tyres and the car can work at its very, very best. Just after you made that pit stop, you're going to be lighter on fuel than the start of the race now because you've done 35 minutes of this race, and Yamin would want to get past Modet as quickly as possible if he can do so.
Yeah, but now on the other hand, if Remco doesn't slow him down that much, he did get a maximum draft out of that straight, and now he's basically as an obstacle now during the toe corner of the boot complex. Let's see if Ahmed is hoping to keep his hopes up of the top 5, he does have to make a pass, and it looks like Remco is not going to fight him off here.
Meanwhile, back to the race lead, and Sandfeld's been able to pull out about a 0.6 of a second gap right now over Danny Conlon in that the battle for the race lead. William Levesque, however, after his incident earlier on, which dropped him out of the race lead down into the 3rd position, he right now is 1.2 seconds behind your race leader, Randolph. And what this means is we've now pretty much got a 4-car battle which is going to be decided on pit road here between Sandfeld, Conlon, Levesque and Rudy DeWitt. Any one of those guys could come out of pit road as your race leader.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. Sandfeld is really, really good in the pits and is kind of known for it. So, and if he was saving a little bit of fuel, he'll be able to take, maybe a second or two less of gas when he pulls up. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens. Although William Levesque has gone right to the rear bumper of Danny Conlon since we've been talking.
Yeah, this one lap alone, he's been able to close that gap down to just 0.3 of a second on the racetrack. He was at least half a second back at the start of this lap. Of course, now into that dirty air. And for Levesque, I think he just realises now that he's got to just turn out the next few laps, Shoney. Not worry too much about what's going on ahead of him. And perhaps also try and save a tiny bit of fuel as well to see if we can eke out that window for another lap.
Yeah, I was just about to starting to think that the amount of laps Egil Sandfeld has now led this race makes me wonder that how much does he have in reserve about saving that splash of fuel, because that now him being in the lead and having a minor damage in his front right corner, that's not helping him in his fuel saving mode while the P3 pulls into the pits.
Yeah, William Levesque is onto pit road for the number 44 machine down to make his one and only stop in this race. A little over 20 minutes left to go, so he's going down the 2/3 distance route, as we expected most of these drivers to do. Only a couple of drivers did it the other way around, some doing half and half. We saw one guy earlier on this race come in with barely 20 minutes of this race done. Alex Stevens on pit road, but scored multiple laps down after an incident earlier on in this race. Having a look at the pit stop of Levesque, he's a nice onto pit road. He's falling down the order, however. 12th position he's currently scored at. We'll keep an eye out to see where he comes out. He wants to come out into clean air. He's now going to be scored down in the 13th position. No, he might just get out of it. No, he won't. He falls just behind.
Right behind.
Ahmed Yamin. That is difficult for him. He's going to have to pass him quickly. That one little moment, Sean, for Levesque earlier on cost him dearly, and perhaps he might have had to get a couple of repairs on pit road.
Exactly. It seems as though not everything went as smoothly as it possibly could have for him on pit road with that fuel stop. As you mentioned, the 2/3 distance here. It looks like a lot of the cars that we thought
He's not
might
wasting
try
time, guys. He's not wasting time. He's going right past Yami, which is exactly what he needed.
Exactly. Coming out on the fresh tires and the fuel, as Ahmed has done as well. He's got to get around him and move to the front as fast as possible. So we're now going to look for as well Egil Sandfield. You know, where's his pit window going to come into play? So you know, we now have Levesque in, and it seems as though they're running a similar strategy. So we'll see what happens here.
Conlon in that Laserman racing car onto pit road. So Sandfield was able to do an extra lap to everyone else. Cars also on pit road. Fred Masters is on pit road. Ian Bevan is on pit road at the moment. And let's see who else is coming down pit road at this moment in time. Yoni Hagner making that trip onto pit road. The number 64 car, by the way, had contact with the Royal Aircraft Van Glen and damaged that rear wing and that Black Rebels car, and now trying to get some repairs to his race car. Had to get towed back towards pit road. But the important thing right now is, can Danny Conlon come out ahead of William Levesque in what is essentially going to be the battle for second and third positions on the racetrack? Levesque is coming past the start-finish line right now. Where's Danny Conlon? And it looks as though it's actually going to be pretty easy for him. Conlon comes out of the pit, and William Levesque is not going to do it. He's actually about a full 1.6 seconds back there, Sean.
Yeah, and that was exactly because of Amir Yamin, because after Levesque had made that pass, coming into turn 4 there, in the next toe corner, William Levesque went sideways. Amir Yamin went too wide with him through the whole heel corner, and that cost him that second that Levesque needed.
Exactly. We've seen with Levesque having that one issue coming out behind Yamin there. He did have a hard time, and that was the difference maker in him taking second position. Now we'll have to watch Levesque. He is the fastest car, or was the fastest car heading into these stops. But how long is Sandfeld going to go? Is he going to go one more lap, 2 more laps? It's just, you know, how much more gas does he have, and how easy can he make it look and come out ahead of Levesque or Conlon?
Also, Rudy DeWitt in that second position as well. He might be the dark horse. Sandfeld is onto pit road this time by, as is Rudy DeWitt. So really at the end of what they can do. Your race leader and second place onto pit road exactly the same time. Egil Sandfield in the number 86 car down to 45 miles an hour, as is Rudy DeWitt as they make that long journey down towards pit road. The Phonetic car looking for his pit box. He's going to be nicely into it, perfectly into it there. Rudy DeWitt there, also perfectly into his pit box, didn't slide at all there. So, your 2 cars, it looks as though Sandfield will probably easily get out ahead. We're going to have to keep an eye out, however, to see how the other cars are on the racetrack behind them. That gap has out as Sandfield comes out of the pit. Where is the other drivers? Will Rudy DeWitt come out? It looks as though that Sandfield's easily got this. Conlon will fall down into second position. Rudy DeWitt is going to be too wide to battle up the hill. Rudy DeWitt won't just get it there, because Conlon will have the better momentum out of turn number 2, Randall.
Yeah, it was really, really close, and I'm surprised one of them didn't lift. But I mean, then again, you're running for the win, so lifting don't get you trophies now, does it?
Indeed, and I tell you what, for Sandfeld, he's got himself a bit of a cushion right now, as here comes Rudy DeWitt on the outside. He's not going to be quite close enough, but he is pushing very quickly. He knows that his tyres are the best shape they can be at the start of a run, and of course with 17 minutes left to go, he can really push his tyres, but Levesque is down to the inside, and you go offline, Yoni. That is exactly what happens. William Levesque back up into the 3rd position as Rudy DeWitt gets just out of line.
And it's sideways again. Levesque is sideways again, and yeah, that's exactly what happens when you mistake that into that entry braking, just tight bit. You cannot rotate the car anymore without slowing down dramatically, and that's exactly what happens. But looking at the lap times of the pit-in lap of Danny Conlon and Egil Sandfield, that's the exact same reason why that 1 second gap exists right now, was the one splash save of fuel, because they both had identical in laps, and the 2 laps before that were pretty much identical as well.
Don't forget, the tyres work best at the start of a run. However, every lap you can stay out, you put less fuel in, it's on the outside. Levesque, he's going to try and make it. He'll get the cut under as they come into the start-finish straight, and almost, I'm not sure if he did actually touch the wall or not there. Danny Conlon was very, very close to it, however. He got all forms of sideways. What he did is he has cut the inside curve. That got him sideways, and it allowed Levesque to go up into second position, and Rudy DeWitt into third, and also Danny Conlon lost another position there to Yamin. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a race on our hands right now, and I think that Levesque, he's got 2.2 seconds to close up. If he can get himself into draft range, I think with 16 minutes left to go, it might just be possible, Sean.
Yeah, I really think, if I had to put money down now, I think it would be Levesque. We've seen Levesque driving very quickly. He needs to kind of settle down just a little bit. He is pushing awfully hard, but he needs to tame it just a little bit, because I think with the quick laps we've seen him running early on in the race, I think he has more than enough power and is doing very well to get around Sandfeld. We've seen Sandfeld really not pushing that hard up to this point as he was going through his fuel-saving mode. So now we'll finally see what Sandfeld has to offer as well, as he now pushes in what's going to be a sprint here for the last 20 minutes.
And don't forget that Veska started this race on the pole position. He knows how to do a fast lap here, but he is really abusing those curbs, Joni, and that's what caught him out a little bit early on, pushing that car to the ragged edge and beyond. The gap is, however, though, down to 1.4 seconds already, and these guys have still got 15 minutes worth of racing left to go as Levesque goes wide.
Yeah, that's it. Both Sandfeld and Levesque are really using 99.9% of the race surface, track surface right now, and Levesque has really attacked there are 2-3 dangerous inside curves on this racetrack, and Levesque has exceeded the track limits in all of those 3 corners during this race. So it will be fun to see if his luck is going to continue through this race. He already had his car spin once. So yeah, if he makes the same mistakes in the boot section again, I don't think he's going to survive another lock round there.
Yeah, you said he's using 99% of the track. I think he's using about 110% of the track right now, trying to get back up to the lead, because he wants it bad. Because let's remember, there are prizes on the line.
Prizes on the line, indeed. We'll talk about that in a couple of moments' time. We'll be uninterrupted to the end and beyond after this short message. Going to step aside for just a moment. 15 minutes worth of racing to go at the Glen.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
So welcome back then to the closing stages of the Morgan Schooley 1 hour of the Glen, and it's going to be a grandstand finish. The battle for the race lead, that gap is pretty much a second right now between Egil Sandfield and William Levesque. For those of you who are just joining us, Levesque led this race from the front. He led pretty much until 2/3 of the way into that first run, when he just got a little bit sideways there, down into turn number 9. That allowed Sandfield to go past him, Danny Conlon, and also Rudy DeWitt. And since then, Levesque has been able to move himself back up into the second position, and as they come past the stripe, that gap for the first time is down below 1 second on the racetrack. Rudy DeWitt has started to fade. It looks as though he won't be able to put any more pressure on Levesque, and in fact, is slowly slipping into the clutches of Danny Conlon. We'd like to give a very big shout out very quickly, first of all, to iRacing, donating 3 prizes, each worth $100. Also to Derek Spear Designs for all the great work he's done, to IGP Manager, and all the other sponsors of this event as well. That battle for the race lead, though, Randolph, it's on, is down to 7/10 of a second as they come into the carousel once again.
Yes, Sandfeld is really going to have to start watching his mirrors, because Levi's going to be having that draft now. And as we've seen, Levi is not the most patient driver in the world, and he'll be making looking to make a move at the very first opportunity he gets. He does not wait around.
Then last time by, Levesque set his fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.047. Compare that to Sandfield's last lap, a 1:46.682. Yoni, Sandfield could actually be pushing that car a little bit too hard just to have kept that gap to Levesque the last couple of laps. All of a sudden, he's now in dire straits because he's took too much heat out of those tyres. He's pushing it too hard, tyre temps build up, and he might struggle to hold off that charge.
Yeah, but we have to remember that Levesque has also been pushing that car through the last 7 laps straight, so his tires are not in optimal way in any shape in any case. So now it's just a matter of who can manage their way around the track best with those burned tires. And my guess is that, like Sandfield, there's no need for him to try and push and escape William, because now William is below that 1 second marker, so the draft is in effect. So I'm pretty sure Egil Sandfield realizes the situation. He's not going to be able to escape William no matter what he does without any dramatic mistakes. So I think Sandfield just tries to avoid any stupid mistakes, and the battle is on right now.
And there's one other little thing. There's lap traffic going side by side ahead of him. This could be a difference maker as Nick Thiessen just pulls out of the way there, and also Eckhart von Glam is also a damaged car on the racetrack. And Sean, this is the last thing you want for the leader, to come up towards slow damaged traffic.
Yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily what Sandfeld wants, as he is trying to hold off Levesque here. But the thing that we've seen so far with the race is when Levesque gets into these huge battles and is really abusing the car, he is prone to mistakes. So as Yanni said, maybe Sandfeld knows that he can't escape, but if he continues to do consistent laps and get through the traffic, we may see Levesque get frustrated and push the car too hard, and that could be it for Levesque.
Race control asking that 64 car to just move out the way, Randolph, and that's important. We want this to be a nice clean back to the end.
Yeah, I was actually going to touch on what Sean there said. I mean, I think one of the biggest X factors is if Levique is able to run the way he is and not upset the car, because he's hitting a lot of the curves that most of the drivers are trying to avoid. So he's being really, really, really brave, trying to get as much out of the car as possible. And we see him pulling up right to the rear bumper of Sandfeld coming out of the last corner.
He gets a good run out of the last corner. He won't be close enough to make a pass into turn number 1, but still, you see Sandfield there is going defensive immediately. He'll cut back across now. This will hurt. He's actually lying into the corner. Here comes the bike. He won't do it now. If he can get a good run out of this corner, however, he'll be able to set himself up perfectly for that run up the hill. This could be that time that Levesque will be able to try and make that move. The gap, as they work themselves through the climbing S's, 3/10 of a second as they come onto that back stretch, it's going to close immediately. You'll see Sandfield will go immediately down to the inside. Now, Levesque is going to make that move to the left-hand side. The battle for the race lead, and who's going to get it? It looks like Levesque is going to be on the advantage into the corner itself. Can't hold it there. Sandfield will just keep it going. He goes wide into the corner, however. Wide on the exit. Levesque might get a second bite of the cherry very soon.
Yeah, that was a brave, calculated move by Sandfield. I could see that from a mile range. He was braking way later than his normal brake marker was, and I could see that he was already setting it up. So he knew that he was going to beat Levesque in the braking zone, but he wanted to block that inside line into the next corner by by taking the inside and pushing it just slightly wide while clearing Levesque. That was
Here he
pretty
comes.
genius driving, but here it comes again.
Down to the inside, to the race lead, William Levesque, and the number 44 car goes back to the point with just over 5 minutes remaining in this race. And now it's going to be, can Sandfeld use that draft? But immediately you see there, Sean, the gap is up to 0.7 of a second. It looks as though that Levesque might just be able to drive away if he can get past this lap traffic on the front straightaway.
Yeah, Sandfeld had a real problem there and slid very wide, and that's actually something that we've seen Sandfeld do. That's probably his worst corner on the track, as I've watched him at least 2 separate other times. Slide out and lose grip there, so an excellent move by Levesque, taking advantage of that, and now he's got to work his way through lap traffic, and the question is does Sandfeld have anything left in the tank to offer Levesque?
Well, up the hill they come. The gap is right now is half a second on the racetrack. The lap traffic got out of the way down into turn number 1, so it looks as though that won't come into play. I don't see any other lap traffic going much distance, but Sandfeld is going to try and use that draft. You see Levesque is moving around the racetrack. That's not going to be an issue until Sandfeld tries to make a pass. He goes deep into the corner. Deep into the corner. He was never going to make that work here in it.
Yeah, he's
but
just trying to confuse William there. Not really a attempt to make a pass.
Yeah, some good racecraft, a little bit of mirror.
It's
it's really sideways.
Very close racing there. Sandfeld is doing what Levesque did earlier on, almost put that car into the wall. But they will continue, and this is the battle for the race lead. Just to let you know, we still have a total of 25 cars scored on the lead lap. We have 4 cars scored 1 lap down. That's Russell Abraham, Fred Masters, Matt Orr, and Christian Menke. Good battles going on. Unfortunately, we're not bringing to you Mike Taylor, Alan Reeves are battling still on the racetrack. You also have an interesting battle going on between Corin Guret and Kevin Duell, as they are battling for 8th spot on the racetrack, and ahead of them you've got Steve Hobbs closing up to the rear of Joni Hagner on the racetrack as well. But it's not over even in that battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, because Danny Conlon has got Rudy DeWitt right behind him and Ahmed Yamin in the 5th position right there as well. And I think we're going to go to that battle quickly for 3rd through 5th, because Conlon is under pressure right now from Rudy DeWitt.
Yeah, Colin's going to have to be really, really careful here. Just because these guys back here running for 3rd, 4th, and 5th aren't running for the win, they're going to be pushing really, really hard. But then again, the leaders is running as close and as hard as they are. Anything that happens, these 3 that are running 3rd, 4th, as Yami gets into the wall through the S's, and he's done. He's out of the race.
And it looks as though he will be done indeed, and that is going to be hugely, hugely, hugely disappointing. Meanwhile, it looks too wide action. Rudy DeWitt on the outside. Will he be able to make that pass happen over Danny Conlon? The battle for 3rd position, the final spot on the podium. A lot on stake for these 2 drivers. DeWitt wasn't able to do it, and for some drivers, Sean, they can make the outside line work. Other drivers haven't been able to do so. It looks like DeWitt, if he's going to want to take that pass, will have to do it on the outside of the carousel.
Exactly, one of the trickiest areas to do it, as we mentioned earlier in the race. You certainly can make it go too wide and put yourself in a nice position going into the next corner into the boot there, but yeah, it's going to happen there, and he's going to have to figure out how to make it work if he's going to get around that car.
Well, I would think that he would just like respect to Danny Conlon's line into the corner a bit too much. There was a full car width between them going through that corner, and if Rudy DeWitt had just gone like well, like a win or lose attitude there, he would have closed the door a bit more, and that would have gave him smaller radius through that corner, and that would have been enough. But that was just slightly too much respect for Danny Conlon's car there.
He might also just be practicing because he wants to see what he can do with the draft, what he can make up. He may want to stay behind him and wait until the white flag lap before he goes to make a move.
Could be. At that point, of course, you've got to put all of your eggs onto one basket. And it looks as though that Yamin Sensei is out of the race now. That is hugely disappointing for that 84 car. We talked about that already. What that does is moves Joni Hagner up into the top 5. And he, by far, Joni, is the biggest mover in the top 10, up 10 positions. And only Ye Beasley and Lamberti in the top 20 have actually really been able to gain more positions than him.
Yeah, strong drive from Joni Hagner. He's well he knows this car very well. He's driven this for in the both fixed series and in the open series, and veteran GT racer as well, all the way from Live for Speed ages. And yeah, it's, not only has he fought his way up the field, but he's done it clean. He has stayed out of trouble. There's been mayhem all over him. But yeah, he has survived. As we're about to get to the white flag lap, and battle for the lead ain't over yet.
Battle for the lead is not over. In fact, Sandfield's been able to close that gap back up as they work themselves through traffic. We have a minute left on the play clock, so as they work themselves through turn number 9, they've got this section to do 2 more times, and then the white flag will be in hand. Your top 10. William Levesque leading the way once again in this race. Egil Sandfield in 2nd, Danny Conlon in 3rd, Rudy DeWitt in 4th, Yoni Hagner 5th, Steve Hobbs in 6th, Cohen Gertz in 7th position, Kevin Duell in 8th, Neil Heckins in 9th, Rasmus Lawson in 10th, and the white flag is in hand. And there is one car causing a little bit of traffic ahead of him. That is Dave Candy, scored in the 23rd position. And Levesque might actually be lucky that he'll catch him on that back straightaway, so he'll get a little bit of a draft there, Sean.
Yeah, it looked like there for just a split second that he might catch him at the worst possible opportunity, but it looks like it's going to spread out a little bit and allow Levesque to get around him onto the back straightaway. So now what Sandfeld wants to see is he's trying desperately to get around Levesque for the lead.
So actually, it's going to cause quite a bit of drama now, because he's not slowing down. It's going to cause a drama going into that corner, but now he finally slows down. But that could have been bad if both of the leaders had to brake on the outside line.
Indeed, and that battle right now from Levesque and Sandfield, it is 4 tenths per second. He has one more chance in my eyes to make this corner.
Two more shots!
Can he keep it? Oh, no, he can't! The lap traffic slams into the rear of him. This is going to allow Conlon to go past, Rudy DeWitt to go past there. It all goes wrong for Egil Sandfield in the last couple of corners of this race. We've also got Rudy DeWitt still trying to close up to the rear of Danny Conlon. This is now for 2nd and 3rd positions, 2 spots on the podium. I don't think DeWitt would have thought they would have got a podium just 1 lap ago, but meanwhile, William Levesque can now cruise it home as he comes through turn number 9 for the final time. Just 2 more corners left for him to go. The first one, the 90-degree left-hander, he can now pretty much turn that engine off and coast it home down into turn number 11 for the final time in this race. At one point, it looks as though his race would have been done. He bounced back. He drove to the race lead once again. William Levesque wins at Watkins Glen.
And a well-deserved win for William Levesque. I was just about to say the commentator's curse came into place. I was just about to say Egil Sandfield had 2 more opportunities. One in the toe corner, which was the bottom of the hill, 180 degrees right-hander, and the heel corner after that. But then he, just as I was about to say that, he just tried to maximize his launch out of the corner, and that's what happens. That corner is so slippery.
And then Danny Conlon was able to bounce back and go into the 2nd position at the end of the race. He started 3rd. Rudy DeWitt, who started this race in the 4th position, finishes 3rd. Egil Sandfield, he loses out on a podium on the last lap of the race, Sean.
Yeah, that was just absolutely gut-wrenching there to watch that all happen, and you know, that's just when you're giving it all you have and you're putting it absolutely to the 100% ragged edge. You know, it's all or nothing, and it was going to be nothing for him today, unfortunately.
But Randolph, great racing, and it shows why these drivers love the Ford GT at the moment.
Oh yeah, there was great racing all throughout the field. The draft with the long straightaway really kept things tight, both not up front but in the back as well. There's some Ford GT regulars that were doing really well, having some fun. Levike is a vet driver normally, and he's the one who ended up winning. I want to give a shout out to Jay Beasley though. He's normally a short track guy and an oval guy, and he came out and he finished just outside of the top 10 and in a race with a lot of big road course guys in it.
Indeed, and I think that's the story of the day, the fact that guys up and down the field have really done themselves proud. A total of 22 cars finished on the lead lap to run through the standings then at the end of this race, and it is William Levesque in a time of 1 hour, 1 minute and 1 second, just beating Danny Conlon by 5 seconds on the racetrack. Rudy DeWitt comes home in 3rd, a further 2 seconds back, very close between those 2 drivers up the line. Egil Sandfield, who is right on the rear of William Levesque, coming on to the final lap. He finishes 10.5 seconds behind the leader after that spin down into that treacherous turn number 6, and then getting T-boned by the lap car. He just had nowhere to go. Joni Hagner rounds out a top 5 finish for him. Impressive drive, the biggest mover in the top 10. Steve Hobbs in 6th. Cohen Gertz in 7th position. Kevin Doyle in the 8th spot. Neil Heckins in the 9th. And in the 10th position, we have Rasmus Lawson. Jay Beasley 11th, Christian Tattenho in 12th, Jasper Groenweg in 13th, Anders Dahl 14th, Remco Modix in the 15th position, Alan Tolson in the 16th, 17th Dirk Turlins, 18th Tony Lombardi, 19th Mac Taylor, and Nikos in the 20th position. The rest of the results coming up on your screen momentarily. Before we go any further, I want to know your driver of the race, starting with you, Sean.
I'll definitely go ahead and give it to our winner, actually, on the Vesk, and the reason I say that is it looked very dark there towards the second half, the 2/3 of that first stint. Like you said, he was having a real hard time. The car was sliding around. He even had a half spin. I mean, it just didn't look like it was going to work for him, and then coming out behind the lap traffic and then really being able to put it together for the last part of the race, I just thought was a fantastic run for him to come back and take the lead, and just terrible for Sandfeld, who was unable to really challenge as he rightfully should have.
Indeed. Randolph?
I'm not sure. I mean, Levesque is the easy answer, but I don't think that's what I want to go with. I think I'll give it to Edgel Sandfeld. He's normally he's one of the organizers of the Neo Endurance Series and doesn't drive as much as he used to anymore, but he came out and he showed that he can still get it done when he needs to.
He did indeed, and by the way, thanks for helping organise this race.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's for a good cause, and why would I not want to be involved with ETV, Glacier, Morgan Schooley, and all the sponsors? Why would I pass up an opportunity like that?
Indeed. I've asked Sean, Yoni, driver of the race.
I can't believe actually I'm going to say this, but I'm going to give it to Joni Hagner for being the biggest gainer in the top 10 and actually surviving a 60-minute race without colliding with any car.
Which for Joni Hagner pretty much is a first. For me, I'm going to give it to Levesque, mainly because of the way he drove back into contention after pretty much almost binning it at one point. The Clean X Award, if we were to have one, actually would have gone to Colin Geratz with 0 incidents in that race. So well done to him.
We do have one.
Talk.
We do have one.
Do.
Neo Endurance donated, I believe it's $10.
There we are.
Geratz is the one winning that.
So the Neo Kleenex winner is Corin Geratz. We'd like to talk to your race winner now, however. William Levesque, it's been a pretty up and down day for you. You've been leading the race, then almost lost it, then had to drive your way back through the field, got back to the race lead, under pressure coming to the last lap, and all of a sudden your competitor kind of loses it.
Yeah, that wasn't the case. Sorry, I just...
I'll tell you what, we'll...
right, I'm back. Right, yeah, that wasn't the perfect race. It was smooth cruising at the start, and then I lost it like an idiot, and from there I just had to try and get back to the lead. It worked out in the end, but yeah.
And take us through what happened when you actually had that slide, which almost put you out of the race. It looked as though we were very close to hitting the tyre barriers, and you'd been on the ragged edge actually the entire first run because you'd clipped the Armco barrier coming up the S's just a tiny bit as well, and I think about lap 6. But I mean, did you think your race was going to be over when you saw that car slide?
Well, I knew I kind of had space, so I tried letting it roll a bit in a more safe position, but yeah, there was a close one.
And then the second half of that race, having to drive back through the field, including pit stops as well, how tough was that?
It was actually quite fun, more than difficult, but I did put way too much fuel in my car, so I lost a bunch of seconds there as well.
Are you saying you spun intentionally just to have more fun with it?
No, but that's the good way of it.
Well, congratulations on winning the race. Stay around. We'll let you know what you've won in just a little bit. It sounds like I'm doing a game show right now. Meanwhile,
I just want to point out, my last name is pronounced Levaik.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, apologies.
Yeah, Randolph got it right. I didn't. Meanwhile,
yeah,
I'm going to hand
I
over
thought
to
you
Randolph.
were right, and then I started talking, saying it like you were, so.
I am going to hand over to Randolph, however, and he's sat with the guy who came that close at one point to regaining the race lead, Egil Sandfield.
Hello, lads.
Egil, it looked like you were looking pretty good for a win possibly there. Ended up having a big slide at the end, though, and obviously Levaik ended up coming back and running you hard. Talk us through what happened.
Yeah, actually I don't know really what happened because it was my first Ford GT race ever, so maybe I should consider racing in this car more often.
Wait, that was your first Ford GT race ever?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you did fantastic.
Thank me later for the setup, dude.
I know just the person to talk to. Oh well, I had a very interesting race, and suddenly I find myself on top of on the top spot, and I see William just closing in on me. I knew that he was faster than me, so I was just trying to see if the time could run out while I would still be on the first place, but unfortunately he got by me, and I started drafting him again. And yeah, in the end, on the last lap, I just tried something, and I thought to myself that I would rather try something here on the last lap than finishing second, because that's the first one to lose, actually.
So tell us, after your first Ford GT race, is your Neo partner Neil Heckens going to have to find another organizer, and you're going to be running at Spa?
This sounds strange, I think, but actually I prefer to actually control the races instead. You can always race, but it's not that often that you can actually make such a great event for so many people. So if I had to choose, I would definitely be in the race control.
Alright, well, fantastic race, buddy. Well done. Even despite the slide at the end, you finished great and had fantastic faith.
I'll screw that in the end. Well done.
Well done there to Egil Sandfield. I'm going to hand it now over from one Finn to another. Yoni Backman talking to Yoni Hagner. Try not to talk too much, Finish.
Yeah. Yoni, that was bad race for you. You didn't hit anyone. What happened?
I take cautiously the first laps and get behind someone and lose too much time, drop at the trap from cars in front and drive it almost alone.
You had a few two wide situations at the end of the long straight. You were going both inside and outside. Which did you prefer better?
Well, outside is maybe better for that setup because it's just a tick loose.
Of course it is, because I did the setup. That's exactly why I did it.
And
yeah,
it was very horrible on the last corner. But otherwise it was very balanced.
And yeah, you were pretty closely followed by P6 and P7 in the end. You think with a few more laps, you think you would have still maintained that P5?
Yeah, I just tried to drive without mistakes, because I noticed that I got very good launch from the turn 1, and it was easy to maintain the lead of the pack.
And last question in Finnish, haluatko tähän mulle voileivä?
Jos mä tuun sinne ensi viikolla, niin sä teet mulle.
Okay. Go on.
Thanks, Nico. So yeah, that's the interview's done. Prizes. That's over to you now, Randolph.
I'm still trying to figure out what exactly we're doing, because we were expecting a second split, which means that we have an extra 100 credits to give away.
Wow. Before we go any further, while you're sorting that out, we're going to have a chat once again to Morgan Schooley. Morgan, what a great race it's been today.
Yeah, I'm blown away. That was watching the pit strategies and everybody come out. I had my mom, my son, my wife, a bunch of people on the big screen watching it, and I was just gnawing on my lips. I wanted to be racing out there with you. It was a lot of fun. You know, I'm really glad the race turned out well. But you guys don't know what it does. I'm just that it. Just kind of the confidence and just knowing that so many people are behind me, kind of rooting me on. Yeah, we're here for a race, but it's just, I don't like being the root of a cause here of charity. It's always kind of a slippery slope. I mean, you don't want to see your name up there, but you guys make it easy. And you know, I'm going to kick ass for everybody who has thrown their hat in the ring and the support of me to get rid of this cancer. And I'm done with it. You know, I'm strong. I'm ready to go. And I mean, there's just a lot of love in, you know, in a racing simulation, and it's felt all the way here in Texas.
And how much does that love actually help? I know it's a weird thing to have things like emotions and people behind the TV screen making a difference, but does it actually, you know, help you along the journey, knowing that there are so many people outside of just the core family supporting you?
Oh, absolutely. That's, yeah, I mean, short answer, yes. You know, please come find me on Facebook. I do a lot of updates there. I got some threads going in the forum. I've used iRacing forums as kind of a personal journal outside of my family, and so I'm very candid there. Any questions are not off this. You can ask any questions. I won't be offended. It's a dark subject. It could be a dark subject, but I think a lot of people can get some support. I know some people already have some friends that are going through some health problems, and they've messaged me saying that just kind of me being open has helped them, and that's why I want to do it. And the money helps. It helps my son. It helps my wife. Helps my family. It helps us all eat, and it's very expensive. Everything going to the hospital every day, and you guys are just making it so much easier. And taking that stress off of somebody going into a fight like this is really paramount. And there's just no way to really put it into words. The thanks that you guys in the booth, and then Randolph, you know, somebody I barely even knew to throw all this together, and Fred Masters on the last oval race, and now watching these races, I just want to do it again for the damn race because it's awesome.
We'll make the next one the Morgan Schooley's kicking ass race, maybe.
Amen.
But I think we said this last time. JD said it. You know, being through some tough times, the fact that you can still talk to us with a smile on the face is hugely inspiring to everyone, I think, on iRacing. And you make a good point there as well. You know, there are people throughout the world who are going, you know, suffering with horrible diseases like cancer, and you know, together we can beat it. And the fact that just even people talking to each other can make a huge difference. And also, we have to say, it's been a great race here today. It's so great being able to talk to you as well. Head over to morganschooley.com, read about Morgan's story, and again, if you can donate, you could be a multi-millionaire. You could donate God knows how much, but you might also be someone that can only donate, you know, a couple of dollars. Every dollar really does count. And hopefully Randolph sorted his life out now, so he can tell me about prizes.
I can tell you two of them. We're still trying to figure one out. So, William, you still here? Levite?
Affirmative.
Alright, so for winning the race, you get $100 as donated by Glacier TV and ETV. You get $100 in iRacing credits, as well as a DSD button box. So congratulations for the win and for the prizes. We'll get those out to you shortly.
Oh, one of them's been given to them now.
Wow, that's insane. Well, thanks, guys. That's amazing.
Yeah, I bet that feels great after that spa race, huh?
Man, that was crazy. Thanks for that, guys. Appreciate it. And hang in there, Morgan.
Great win.
So that's the first prize. Second prize goes to Danny Conlon, but he's not in here right now. He gets 100 iRacing credits for finishing second, so I'll shoot him a message and we'll get those sent out to him. And we still have 100 credits to give away. Yoni had a couple ideas. We could either raffled off from all the front runners, the finishers, or JD had the idea of giving it to Mr. Morgan Schooley.
That's an even better idea.
Think that's the
Yeah,
best idea?
I opt for that one.
Well, there you have it, Morgan Schooley. You got 100 iRacing credits coming your way.
In fact, they've just been sent. That's how quick I can be.
Well, man, Will Vincent, you're so talented.
I know, right? And for all the prizes, don't forget, keep an eye out on the iRacing forums. We'll keep you all up to date on that. Don't worry, we will give you prizes, I promise. Also, to everyone who has participated in the race as well, we've got a deal that we're just finishing off with our friends over at igpmanager.com. They're going to offer a 3 months membership to IGP Manager to anyone who took part in the race here today. So go out and try it, head over to igpmanager.com. We'll make sure you get all the details for that as soon as possible as well. We'd like to give a shout out to IGP Manager, to Derek Spear Designs, to Sean Tiff, Tony Gardner, everyone at iRacing, to Hippie Paint Schemes as well for some paint scheme stuff. We've got more prizes, yet to give out. And also, I want to give a bit of a shout out to the boys over at ETV for allowing myself and Yoni to come and commentate with them here today. Thanks to Randolph for jumping in and commentating. Also to Sean for joining me in the booth for this race. And to Morgan as well for being a great sport and making this whole event possible. Fred Masters for the work he did in the previous race. Randolph for this race. And on that bombshell, it is time for us to say goodbye. It has been one truly amazing hour at Watkins Glen. William Levike, he had that race in the bag and then he just got sideways and it made it an incredibly entertaining last half hour of racing. At one point, it looks like that Egil Sandfeld might just have been able to get it done, but Levike wasn't going to give up without a fight. He took the victory on just a couple of laps left to go, and then Sandfeld, his almost glory turned to misery on that final lap, trying to make that move down into turn 6, putting him down into the 4th position. Thank you to everyone who's watched here today. Thank you very much to the field of 42, making it a great race at upstate New York's Watkins Glen International. Until we meet again, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.